A ship that's bigger on the inside than on the outside? Could it be that this little thing will finally turn the tide? Well, like Jean-Claude Van Damme says, there is never enough time. So it's good that we're fixing drinks with a little bit of lime. I'm Josh.
I'm Justin.
And this is From There to Here. Okay, this week's episode is Season 2, Episode 16. It's called Future Tense, and according to the IMDb, this is what it's about. Enterprise discovers a pod with the body of a human that seems to be wanted by both Suliban's and Tholians, and it is rated, care to harbor a guess?
8.1.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's up in the 8s. I'll say 8.2. 8.1, all right.
Bing, bing,
you
bing,
got
bing,
it.
bing.
It's 8.1 out of 1,700 votes.
Johnny, what has he won? Nothing.
Nothing. What do you have, Justin?
Oh, all right. So there wasn't a whole lot for this. The episode was originally titled Crash Landing before it was changed to Future Tense.
Well, I'm glad they changed the title.
Yeah, that's not
Okay.
that's no good. It was directed by James Whitmore Jr., who
I love James Whitmore Jr.
Actually, he's an actor as well.
Oh, is
so
he? Okay.
if you saw his face, you'd be like,
that
okay.
guy. Oh, okay.
He did, I want to say, most of his acting in the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
I know he did at least an episode or more than one episode of Magnum. I want to say yes, he did. He had an episode of Battlestar Galactica. The original. Yes.
Yeah.
His scenes were mostly with Starbuck. I remember him. You know him if you saw him.
Okay.
But then he transitioned because I recognized the name as being directed by. So he obviously switched over. He directed this. Yeah, it was season 2, correct? Acquisition. Yeah. And then he also directed episodes of 24, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, X-Files. You know, he definitely made a name for himself in the TV realm directing. And it pointed out that the episode used mostly existing sets, and the only new set was built for the remains of the salvaged vessel and a wall for the Suliban ship shown on the view screen. So it was essentially a bottle episode.
Yeah, I found a picture of him. I know this guy.
Yeah, I knew you'd know his face.
Yeah. Okay. For some reason, it's showing a picture of. Maybe this is James Whitmore and he's junior. Because
he is
James
junior.
Whitmore it's showing the picture of from Shawshank Redemption and Them.
Yes, that.
Okay.
That's his father.
Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks.
Oh, okay.
And from Them.
Okay.
The cop from Them.
All right.
Who carries an Uzi machine gun
right.
in his car.
And for anyone who doesn't know,
shoot giant
Them
ants.
is it's a 50s giant bug movie.
Monster movie. Yeah, giant bug movie.
It's pretty good.
Really quite good.
Yes. You wouldn't think so.
No. I mean, long story short, but you and I went in cold
that's
to watch
right.
that.
We did a commentary on
We
this.
did.
That's right.
And we found ourselves going, this is actually pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, we liked it.
It
was a request, actually.
It was a request, and because for those of you that don't know, we don't really do anymore now, but we did have a separate podcast show where we did our own commentaries.
Well, we occasionally do some.
Yeah, we drop some in randomly, but it proved to be, I want to say, in my personal opinion, it was the game changer in that genre of movies, to where it went from B level to, I mean, it's still kind of B level, but it gave it some class.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you got invested in the characters, and it was well shot and it was well staged. And the only fault I think the movie made was in giving away, like in trailers, that it was ants. Like if you saved that for the reveal.
Because the movie does.
The movie saves it. And great movie. But anyway, yeah.
So we're talking about Future Tense.
Future Tense.
This is it's kind of a hard episode to really break down, because it's a very simple episode. There's not a lot to it. It's a mystery with only one mystery, really. Like, where did the ship come from? But we kind of already know
the future.
We know that, and
right.
we kind of already know. Well, who is this person? Well,
we never find out.
We never find out, and I guess it doesn't matter. But Archer suggests at the beginning, oh, maybe this could be Zephram Cochrane.
Right.
We know that it's not.
Right.
We know what happens to Zephram Cochrane.
Yeah.
That's not what happens to him.
Anyone who saw the original series knows what's happened to Zephram Cochrane.
You can pretty much bet your pants that anyone watching this show has seen the original series, so they know.
Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, that's right. So it was interesting that they brought up Zephram Cochrane.
Yeah.
But it's a dead end. It didn't go anywhere.
Right.
I do appreciate that they brought in the Tholians.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Sure.
Of course, I want to see a Tholian web. I want to see them do that thing, but no.
Feel like we do later in the series. I think they run into the Tholians again.
Well,
and I think they do create a web.
Do they?
I believe
every time we see those ships, it's
I want to say it's season 4, because season 4, of course, is when they really started tying it into TOS. Okay. But I do believe so.
So the Tholians and no surprise, the Suliban they want this ship. Suliban. They want this ship.
Yeah.
They don't really say why. It doesn't really matter. It's a MacGuffin.
Sure.
For all intents and purposes.
Yeah, basically.
So I'm already spinning my wheels. I mean, in that regard, there really isn't much I can dig out of this show, of this episode. I mean, there are a few motifs that it's trying to explore. From certain scenes, you can pick that up from scenes between Phlox and T'Pol, or Malcolm and Trip, for instance. When they discover this human inside the pod, they discover that this human is not just human. He's more than human. He has various species in his DNA. And they're very surprised by this. And of course, T'Pol is appalled by this. She can't believe it. This will not stand. No, Vulcans and humans. Ugh. She can't have that. Very prejudiced, I would think. These Vulcans are.
Well, I mean, this is before any of that happened.
Yeah, well, anyway. All the humans seem okay with it. At least she doesn't, though. But anyway.
Right.
When she and Phlox are talking in the mess hall about this, and it's a kind of a intimate, not very intimate. It's a close setting. They're in there by themselves. It's late at night, and Phlox decided to tell her a story about first contact with his for whatever species Phlox. Denobulans, yeah, their first time making first. You only have one first time. Their first contact, and he said at that time there were even Denobulans who still refused to admit that it was true, that these were aliens, even when it was standing right in front of them. They still wouldn't accept it. And basically, what he's, not to put too much of a fine point on it, this is what he's saying to T'Pol. Like, he's right here. Like, you're looking at this guy. He's a mixture of humans and Vulcans and who knows what else. And you still won't accept it. Come on, get it together.
Yeah. What will it take?
Exactly. I like that scene. There was another good...
And it has a good payoff at the end.
How so?
Her reluctance to believe in time travel. The very last line of the episode.
Uh-huh.
You don't remember?
I remember the last line.
What was it? Say it.
Something or other. We would rather believe in. We would sooner believe in time travel.
Yeah, he says. What do you think the Vulcans will say when you tell them that there was proof of interspecies relations? Because I think they'll sooner believe in time travel.
Okay. Well, I mean,
thought that was a.
That was just a cute little tag. I didn't think it was dovetailing anything. I just thought it was.
I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't have been as kind of cutesy and funny a moment were it not for the previous stuff, in my opinion.
Well, I have to interrupt the discussion.
Yes,
we forgot to mention.
Please.
So we have in our possession a drink that we've mixed, courtesy of longtime listener and writer into the show, Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
Marissa was kind enough to send us a recipe she made. Well, I suppose for us. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But thank you, Marissa. It does not have a name, so we're going to name it. Now, it is a mixture of Irish whiskey, Midori, lemon, and some tonic water.
There was a fifth ingredient that was optional, and we chose not to do it, which would have given it more of a floral taste. And we're men, we didn't want that.
We promised a while back that if we had a drink, we would
drink it on the show.
We would imbibe on the show, and we intend to do that. But
we
first,
we
have to name it.
Yeah, well, what are we going to call it?
My suggestion is the Cyrus Ramsey. What do you think?
Not bad.
Not bad?
Either the Cyrus Ramsey or the... Who was the one that Travis told that beep, beep?
I don't remember that name.
But the Cyrus Ramsey, though, that's a good one. The Cyrus Ramsey.
Okay.
Is there anything from this episode that, because we're drinking it for this episode, that we can specifically connect it to?
Ooh.
The Tholian web.
That's too Tholian. Try to make it a pun.
Okay.
If you can. Can you turn Tholian? Can you turn web into something?
I don't know. Suliban surprise.
Suliban surprise. That's not bad. I like that. Suliban surprise. So what do you think? Cyrus Ramsey or Suliban surprise?
I like Cyrus Ramsey more, but I feel like to commemorate this, it should be for the episode.
And it has some nice alliteration. I dubbed the Suliban surprise. Now, it does have a nice green tint to it.
Yes,
it kind of looks like Mountain Dew, so we're going to taste it right now.
So we're sitting across from each other, so we'll just go.
Cheers
ding.
To you, to Marissa, to everyone. Thank you.
Marissa.
Ooh, smooth. Nice.
That's
quite good.
That is quite good.
Oh, it has a bit of a after kick to it.
It's strong, but the ingredients help smooth it out.
Yeah, I can feel it going all the
way. Let me try some.
Nice.
What's the secret ingredient you got there? Come on.
I don't know. Justin's doing a quote and I can't get it.
Yeah, this is really sad. Let me put more in context.
Are you doing Santa Claus the movie?
No.
What?
Doctor, do you have any more of that secret ingredient?
Oh, bourbon and beans.
Right? Explosive combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is Tennessee whiskey spot. Careful little snorts. That's what I was really going for.
Oh, the Suliban surprise. This is nice, smooth kick.
It is. It's got kick and it's smooth and it's sweet. I like sweet.
Yes, very sweet. Ooh. Nice. All right, so all right, we'll enjoy that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We might pause halfway through to make some more because she sent us essentially the mixture of this is basically a generous shot.
Mm-hmm. More or less. Maybe a double shot.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
But we might just go ahead and mix some more.
So back to future tense.
Yep.
I was talking about the scene between Phlox and T'Pol. That was a good motif. Mm-hmm. Another thing.
A little on the nose, but.
Yes, but I enjoyed that conversation. Mm-hmm. Anytime they get to use Phlox for anything.
Sure.
I enjoyed that actor.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, seeing him talk and just anything that's outside of sick bay is interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing I found interesting was there was a theme of fate or destiny versus free will a little bit. Have you noticed when it comes with this? The conversation came to a point between Malcolm and Trip when they're first working on that. Well, what they thought was the black box.
Oh, right, where they're talking about would you want to know if you'd meet your future wife and all that?
Malcolm wants to know. Trip doesn't. He's like, well, what's the point if we know what happens when we get there? Some things I'd rather not know. And Malcolm's response was, well, I think how many awkward first dates I could avoid. It's a funny way of looking.
But then he turns it around and says, okay, but did you marry her because you fell in love with her? Or did you marry her because you were told you were fated to?
Because you read it in a book.
Right.
And there's the trap. You don't know. You'll never know.
You'll never know now. No. Of course it was brief, but that little exchange between them, Malcolm, the, stiff Brit, he's the one going, oh, heck no, I'd go to the future and I do this and I do that.
It does not sound like Malcolm at all. I don't know what
well, neither does my captain.
Is that Suliban surprise going to your head already?
No, but it's... It wasn't until right now when you said that. I mean, I noticed during the episode that, he's the one going playfully, oh, I'd go to the future. I'd want to see this. I'd want to see that. And you would think that it would be Trip that would say that. And Malcolm would be like, oh, no, you can't know the future.
Oh, you can't.
Come on, that's not bad. But maybe that is their issue with Malcolm. And why they had a hard time nailing his character down for a while, because they didn't know. I feel like on one scene, they present him as the stiff Brit. Then the next scene, he's drawing happy faces on a snowman. And you're like, he should be the last guy to do that. But I feel like they're riding that line a little bit much, and maybe that was their way of not. They weren't really sure who he was going to be, and I think their intention for him was to be the stiff Brett, kind of like Worf, always fire first, ask questions later. But when they put him in, this is just my theory. What I think they found as the series started to take on its own legs and its own life, they realized, okay, Connor Trinneer has this certain vibe, and when you put him with Malcolm, kind of like Shuttlepod 1, they immediately start butting heads, but then they found middle ground. And I think I think their intention was to make him Worf-like, but then that was kind of boring. So they needed to, if you put him in a scene, in a one-on-one scene, if you have these two guys getting drunk in Shuttlepod 1, you got to have a little fun with it. So I just think they were still finding Malcolm. I know this is a very brief element of the episode, and it's not about this remotely. It was just a thought that they're still working on Malcolm as a character, and he is still finding Malcolm in his own way, because I feel like as the series goes on, he kind of goes back to that more serious thing. And I think that was probably a conscious choice, because someone needed to carry that baton of the seriousness a little bit, because Trip and Archer, because of their past, could be more familial with each other. And of course, Trip starts to have a personal relationship with T'Pol as time goes on. And they just needed someone to be the straight man, essentially. And just a random thought, man. Didn't mean to derail it, but it was just a thought.
No, that's...
I think
that's an interesting theory. I never had thought of it that way before.
Yeah, I would say it was probably, I think there was something of a similar thing with Geordi in TNG. They had him all in season 1, and he was fine, but he wasn't truly defined yet. He was at the helm, and then during what's that one where they have to separate the ship, and he takes. What is that one called?
I've gone blank. I know.
Dang it!
I can never remember episode titles when we're doing
Papa
this.
377 or something. Whatever.
Yeah, my ship is the lollipop.
Yeah. But anyway, in
keep
that,
talking, it'll come.
He kind of takes command, and he's very good at it, and all of that. And he was just a little too, I don't want to say perfect, but he just, I don't know. It came a little too easy. There wasn't. I certainly had a sense of him, but it wasn't until season 2 when he got to be engineer when I think he really flourished. And I mean, obviously, he was kind of like Worf in the first season. Worf was kind of just there, but very two-dimensional. And it wasn't until Tasha was gone that he took over that he started to take on more life. And, that I think that's just the nature of television production. They have a much better sense of who Archer is going to be like. That's their main guy, and T'Pol is the stiff Vulcan, and then everyone else, you have your petulant Texan, Southern guy, and that's kind of what he was. That's all he was. And then his character started to evolve as Connor Trinneer started digging his teeth in, and the writers realized, oh, well, he kind of does have chemistry with Jolene Blaylock, more so than Scott Bakula. So maybe let's go. I just think one of those things that just as it goes. And also, as the show developed, they realized, wow, Hoshi really isn't a character, is she? She really doesn't actually have a character. She's a plot convenience, wrapped in a little girl. And that's kind of it. And then they kind of settled the little girl thing early on to where it's like, well, I guess just say hi, just like Mayweather. He's an idea sitting there. He's not really a full-fledged character. You get bits of him from here to there, but by and large, just wasn't all that interesting. Although I think they totally missed the ball with him. He could have been a much more interesting character than he was. It's hinted at, but you don't really get it in full. You just get pieces. But Malcolm proved to be a good straight man to some of their stuff. And then he he and Connor obviously had good chemistry together, so they started to write some things to make that happen and all that. I just think it's just one of those things that as we are consistently watching the show once a week, we're seeing the progression, and because we know ultimately where it goes, we can kind of connect dots that you wouldn't if you were just watching it cold for the first time. Just some observations. Anyway.
Well, as I said, and I agree with what you said about Geordi. I do. But I don't know. I never got the feeling that Enterprise was being developed in the same way that, developed in the same way that Next Gen did and its characters did. I thought Malcolm was deliberately set up to be probably a little bit of both. He had his stern side and he had his playful side. It seemed to come out that way in some instances here. And then while he's on the bridge, he has a different mindset. I could be wrong. I mean, your theory certainly holds water, as they say. It certainly does in Geordi's case, because you're absolutely right. I don't think they had a clue what they were going to do with Geordi or Worf, for that matter.
No, I think Worf was strictly there to be the Klingon that's on a ship.
When Denise Crosby left the show, they needed somebody, and Worf stepped in, and it all worked. Everything worked out.
Magic
it was
happened.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. Same with Geordi. You put him down there, and suddenly, it's obvious that was never their intention for the character. It would have been written into it.
No.
They just thought, well,
who wants to have a series of guest engineers? That's boring.
I thought it was an interesting idea to do. It didn't work, but it was an interesting concept to try. But then I think they were looking at it going, well,
they can't keep swapping out engineers.
No.
Like, that's not going to work in the long run.
No, I mean, I agree with you. And if they're going to continue to have scenes in engineering, you need someone to pin it on. And they looked at it and they thought, well, the blind guy, we thought it was cute putting the blind guy in the driver's seat, but maybe he can also be an engineer too. Why not? And they just made that happen, and it worked. Well,
I will agree that, Hoshi doesn't have a character really.
No,
they did spend their nickel on her already.
Yeah,
as you said, she was the naive kind of afraid to get her feet wet type. And she's already kind of done that.
It's done. It's gone.
And they haven't, we know they don't really explore her character. No. So, it's kind of,
they don't. There's episodes about her, but it doesn't change her character.
Sure. No, sure. They had Vanishing Point, which was recent.
Right.
And is it really an exploration of her character?
Oh, not at all.
No.
And just
the most recent one I can think of was maybe 2 Days and 2 Nights. And that was season 1.
And that for me just solidified that, Hoshi is her arc is over, and she doesn't really have anything relevant to do other than comms are open. There's not a lot to do, and I think that was something
which is why you got to give your characters a little bit more to build a mold, to mold them from,
right,
so to speak. Right? They didn't really do that.
Well, they could have if they had been patient and let her remain green for longer, but they didn't. They too quick just gave her space legs, and that was it. And unfortunately, she doesn't do anything of any super value on the ship.
So how do you think she factors into this episode? Do you remember that pivotal scene where she answered the comm?
Yes.
And the Tholians went.
I literally had the feeling when they cut away to her shot, I thought, is that a steal from another episode? Because I don't think she was in the previous shot.
Oh, you think so? They just lifted it from.
It felt weird,
else?
Yeah, like she was never there.
And I don't say this as a criticism to her, to the actress. I like her. She's a beautiful woman. I want to see more of her.
Sure.
And I genuinely think her character could have been more than it was. Same goes for Mayweather. I like that guy, like you do. Like, he seems like a nice guy.
I really like that guy. Yeah, I find him very charismatic and interesting.
They're giving him nothing. Like, they, Sulu, was not part of the main cast. He was, a secondary character, but they gave him things to do. You knew what Sulu what he was like. Are you with me on this one?
Yeah, no? I agree. Okay.
All right. Felt like I was talking to myself there for a second. So yeah, why aren't they? I don't know. I know we're kind of off the topic of the episode, but
yeah, maybe we should talk about that.
Well, this happened in the episode, but still, the fact that this episode is being guided by, basically the main 3 characters, Trip, T'Pol, and Archer. For the most part. Malcolm a little bit, yes.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, Malcolm could be like akin to like, Scotty in a sense. Scotty kind of drifted between, being a secondary and kind of part of the main player sometimes. It was kind of
Scotty's a tricky one. And because recently I had kind of done a rewatch of TOS. I always thought this before, but I really, really dug into it with this rewatch. Scotty really came to life throughout that show. He started as, two-dimensional Scottish engineer. That was kind of it. I think Roddenberry really loves his stereotypes and sticking
but they're
them.
so much fun though.
I'm not knocking them. I mean,
Well, stereotypes or cliches are they are for a reason.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he said it in that that 25th anniversary special. That's what I know it from.
Oh,
the one where Roddenberry, he's
the one we've all seen a thousand times.
We've all seen 1,000 times.
Yes.
Where he's sitting in front of like a gray backdrop.
Where it looks like he went to Sears.
Yeah, it looks like he's doing a Sears photo shoot.
Yes.
And he goes, Scots have always been shipbuilders, so I thought it had to be a Scotsman being there.
Sure.
And that was it. Kind of like he thought, well, the Klingons were the bad guys in the original, so let's put a Klingon on the bridge of the Enterprise, and we'll figure it out later. It's broad strokes.
Okay.
But, lost my train of thought. Where was I going?
Broad strokes.
Yep.
Talking about putting people on the ship, stereotypes, cliches, Scotty.
Oh, the Scotty thing. Yes, thank you for bringing it home. Thanks, Marissa.
I guess that Suliban surprise
Must be the Suliban
doing its
surprise.
job. Huh?
But with Scotty, he was only engineer. The ship can't take it and all that. But then as it progressed, Kirk and Spock would be inevitably down on the surface and Scotty would take command. And he wasn't just sitting there. Events of the story happened on the ship to where he had to make command decisions. And they had to decide what kind of character he was going to be. Was he going to be a diplomat? Was he going to be a shoot first kind of guy? What was he going to be? And they defined it. And there's even hints of that early on the Galileo 7. I want to say that was a season 1 episode. And in that episode, it's a moment that I have referred to before when it comes to leadership and command structure and when you should step in. And there throughout the episode, for anyone that doesn't know, there's the 7 people on the Galileo and they crashed on this planet, blah, blah, blah. Spock's there. He's in charge. And there's this one guy that just keeps picking at Spock. Every decision Spock makes, he's like, you're a cold calculating computer brain. You don't care about people. You have no heart and all this. And Scotty, meanwhile, he's down on the ground trying to fix the ship, just doing his job. And at some point, Scotty felt he crossed the line and he made it personal. And he kind of took a real personal shot at Spock. And Scotty stood up and said, hey, I'm paraphrasing, and said, hey, that's enough, mister. He's in command. Go do your job. He had enough. And he was like, that's it. He would let them bicker it out. But then when that guy crossed the line, crossed a leadership line, that's when Scotty jumped in and said, no. Just leave. Go do your job. And Scotty was further defined by those moments where he was given command of the Enterprise, where he was no diplomat and he never made any attempt to be. He was like, this is what my captain said to do. This is what I'm going to do. And that's it. And he never backed down. He was tough. And I just dug that about him. And to connect reality to the fiction, we know that Doohan served. He lost two halves of one finger, something. The guy did service. So I think it would be negligent to think that he was in that acting role, not drawing on those experiences in his life. And I felt it really fleshed him out. It made him interesting, and anyway, way off track, but just the point of sometimes this happens. They develop things as they go. And I think Malcolm, they're still working on it. You know,
You think they're still working on it by this point in the series?
Yeah, I think the reason for that
we're
is
over
that,
halfway through the second season.
But bear with me on this. Can you answer this question? And I'm not asking. I don't remember. Has any episode of Enterprise to date been a Malcolm episode?
No.
There you go. I just think they didn't have the chance to fully define him because he wasn't in a definable situation. That's
the closest he got was Shuttlepod 1, but that was a dual thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that softened his character, that definitely made it more interesting, but I think they were still kind of feeling it out. I think that's just a matter of chemistry. Just like it was very clear their intention when they started the series was to have this sexual tension between T'Pol and Sam Beckett. But then when it was really painfully clear that they did not have any, no fault of the actor, sometimes it's just not there on screen. But Trip did. And they switched gears, and I think they were just like, who is he in relation to these guys? And they just couldn't quite make up their mind. So one episode he's this, one scene he's this. It kind of doesn't make sense. Really, it does not fit his character. This is a guy that was so stiff he wouldn't tell anyone that he loved pineapple pie, for God's sake. Right. But yet this is the same dude that will draw happy faces when he knows they're being watched. Like it doesn't. It really is. I'm not trying to assault anyone here, but it is bad character writing because they clearly hadn't had them worked out. That's something, like we said during that episode when we talked about it. That's something that Mayweather should have done.
I see. The way I interpret that is that's not bad character writing, although I can certainly see your point. It's a fine point, but I think that's. How I took that was where he's, drawing a smiley face on the snowman, or in Breaking the Ice, or when he's in this episode where he's talking to Trip about, I want to find out who I'm going to marry, so I don't have to go on any awkward first dates.
I feel like that conversation should have been reversed.
Okay, really?
Yeah, that Trip should have been like, yeah, I want to go meet her. I want to do this. And then have Malcolm, the stiff guy that says, you can't time travel. That's bad. And have him say, because he's more stiff. He's not an adventurer. Trip is the wild one that'll go do something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I read Trip in a different way. No, it seemed fitting for them.
Really? I felt like it out of character and they should have flipped the conversations, in my personal opinion.
No, I mean, I definitely felt that Trip would not be the person that would want to know his future like that.
Maybe you're right.
He seems much more a man of the land.
All right. You're right.
He takes now what's
that I
given
say it, no, you're right.
He asks for no more.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because I guess when I say it out loud, for Malcolm, he's not saying that he wants to go see the future and all of that. He's not doing it in the exploratory sense. He's trying to make his present life easier. So it's not. I guess that's the rub in that conversation, why you can't switch them. So you're right. I take it back. I'm taking him back. I'm taking them all back.
You better. Anyway, well, what I was saying about Malcolm was, I think that in certain instances where he feels like he can be loose, he can tell a joke, he can just be a little bit of a goofball. Where he gets to put that smiley face on the snowman, have a little fun. He felt safe with Malcolm. He feels safe with Trip in these little intimate moments where he feels like no one's watching. That's how I took those moments. When he's on the bridge, he's Mr. Stuffy. When he's all about when he's talking about his job, he's just all business. So when someone like Hoshi, when she tries to make small talk with him and he thinks she's coming on to him, he's flattered, but he's a little put off. Like, oh, this is strange. We shouldn't be talking to each other like this. This is, there's a division, but there's a wall I've built, and you're on the other side. That's how I took that. Clearly, this must be how I'm wired.
No,
as
okay.
opposed to how you're wired.
I'm going to say something here.
Yeah, okay.
That may be shocking.
Oh boy,
I was wrong.
No, say that again.
Everything that you just said I think is completely correct.
Okay.
And so
No. After that long diatribe you just gave,
most of it was about Scotty. In all fairness, I think you're right. When you put it the way you just did, it makes perfect sense because the genius of your argument, genius of your, I could have argued it.
Okay.
Was when you brought up scenes with Hoshi. That's what nailed it. Because you're right. It's not just one-on-one conversations. It's very specific people that he can be that way with.
Mm-hmm.
I stand corrected.
All right. Everybody
now
got that?
let's move on to the buffet.
So to move away from my victory for just a moment.
I still think they were trying to find Malcolm in a way.
Okay.
But
no, see,
not in that
there's
sense.
the rub.
Only in the sense that they didn't
like,
quite...
I still think I'm right.
No. I think you're right about his character. I just think they were still trying to figure out how to best squeeze him into the show. Just like they pretty much gave up on Hoshi and Mayweather. Yeah. They were still trying to find a way to get him in there.
Okay.
They do better as the series goes on. But you're right. That's it. Moving on.
Well, about this episode in particular, if we want to talk about the broader temporal Cold War here, every so often we've been getting an episode that involves
the temporal Cold War. I'm
War.
so glad you brought it up because I just love the temporal Cold War, and I'm
You're not a very good actor,
and I'm so interested when they bring it up. I mean, it's been a vital part of the series, and every time it comes up, I'm extremely invested.
I wouldn't mind this temporal Cold War.
Right.
If it was actually a main point. The fact that they just bring it up every so often and it never leads anywhere.
Are you talking about in the series or in this episode?
Well, in the series, it never really goes anywhere.
No,
So it's kind of they're fun episodes, but since I know they don't go anywhere, it kind of leaves me feeling a little empty at the end.
I think this episode would have been better served to just not connect it to that. I don't mind that Archer brought it up, but maybe because, it's a logical jump to make, but for him, given what they know of time travel, but find a way to dismiss it. Just like they thought, oh, maybe this could be Zephram Cochrane. Nope, it's not. Okay, fine. It was a good what if, but quickly dismiss it. Just like with this, it doesn't go anywhere. I don't mind that we don't definitively find out who this guy was, what he was like. Was he associated with the Federation? Who knows? I don't care, really. And it's kind of, frankly, more fun to not know. So for them to spend time what story purpose did it serve to have Archer go into Daniel's room, find the thing, they found that ship in there? Just don't even bring up Daniel's. Forget about the room. Just say, where did it come from? And just not know. Don't even bring it up. In my opinion, don't touch it.
Well, my criticism is, how does this move the plot forward?
It doesn't. That's my point. And so why bother?
Exactly. It's a fun episode.
Yeah.
But it doesn't move the ball anywhere. It just we still don't know what's going on with the temporal Cold War. The Suliban are still involved somehow. And now the Tholians are involved now. Okay, that's something. But okay. And they want a time ship. Okay. But it doesn't lead anywhere, and that's kind of what bothers me about it. There's some genuinely good sequences in the episode. I've talked about some of them in length, but also technically speaking, there's some good Groundhog Day moments where they repeat the scenes over and over again. Like, oh my God, they're gonna do it again.
Which you and I could not stop making.
What did we say?
What's the Enterprise or the TNG episode we were referencing constantly? Deuce.
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. We kept making cause and effect jokes.
That was you.
You jumped in there.
No, that was you.
I think I started it, but
it was you.
Okay.
Deuce 6. Last Tuesday night.
Oh, I did that too.
That was you. So that was fun. I enjoyed the friction that the drama. That's a better word. The drama. That happened because T'Pol just refuses to accept that humans and Vulcans could mingle. I enjoyed that drama, but I feel like T'Pol was regressed in this episode to add drama, because I don't feel like she would have that kind of animosity, that feelings of animosity toward humans and Vulcans. I don't know. It seems like it's something that shouldn't have bothered her as much as it did.
Yeah. Okay. I see
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it didn't quite sit right with me. It seemed like season 1 to Paul.
Yeah. I can see what you mean by that. I think you're right that it was just kind of artificially there to create some drama that really wasn't very dramatic in the first place.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
And it's only interesting, ironically, having watched the whole series, because you know that she and Trip will have an interspecies relationship. So, but yeah, I agree with you about that. I thought it was just filler and wasted time. But maybe this is a good time, since we're bringing up some of this up. Let me ask you, would you like to step into the writer's room at all?
Oh, the writer's
room. I have
room.
some thoughts, but
I hadn't even thought about that. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Maybe I could bounce some off of
So the way the episode plays, they find the ship, they start investigating it, they realize temporal something's funny, but then they start getting dogged by Tholian ships, by Suliban ships, and they realize everybody wants a piece of this pie. So they call for the Vulcans' help, and it's all just a who's gonna they're trying to steal it off Enterprise and all this stuff. Who's gonna get it in the end? Maybe a different way to frame this episode would be to open, the episode opens with it floating in space, and unless I forget, I don't know if they even specifically say on screen how the Tholians and the Suliban knew about it. So what if the framing device is the ship's floating out there, blah, blah, blah. And Enterprise, I'm detecting this ship. It's 20,000 light years away. There's a temporal signature. That's odd. Let's go investigate. Whoosh. Cut to Suliban ship. We're detecting them. This could possibly mean time travel. Let's go get it. Tholians, blah, 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 blah. Go get it. And so now it's a race. Kind of like the chase from TNG. It's a race to get to the ship. So that could be like Act 1. Who's going to get there first? Let's say Enterprise makes it by like an hour. They get it on board. They're racing off, and they've got a little bit of time to get in there and look at it. They're under the gun, under the clock, because they know these guys are coming, and they've all detected this temporal thing. They know this is a time ship of some sort. They don't know anything else about it other than the potential weaponization of a time ship. And so now they're being dogged, and now he says, let's go find this Vulcan ship. Safety. And so they're racing to that ship. Meanwhile, they've got these ships coming and coming. Maybe in Act 2, they hit Enterprise. They get it. They catch up. And they have your pew, pew, pew fights. And I don't know. Let's say Enterprise gets away again, but they're still after him. Or maybe that's when they find the Vulcan ship and it's been disabled. All right, we're going to get out of here. They're not going to bother the Vulcans. They're alive, so we're going to take off. Boom, and they're on the run. And it's all a matter of getting these guys away from them and not letting them have this valuable thing, because they may not be able to figure it out, but they can't let anyone else get it. It's too dangerous. And maybe the episode should have ended with Archer, because I know T'Pol towards the end of the episode is saying, just destroy it. This is too dangerous. We could lose it. Destroy it. And maybe he decides to. Maybe he goes, you know what? You're right. We're not going to. Boom. There's your third act, the finale. They're racing away. Their warp engines are burning out because they're at warp 5.2. They're pushing it to the max. I like that imagery of when he said maximum warp, and you see God, I always want to say Malcolm. You see Mayweather go vroom, and then the ship immediately starts shaking because they went to max speed. And have that be where the shake is like, she's gonna fly a pirate captain, have that whole bit. And Archer say, shut us down. Boom. And he knows in doing that, they're going to be on them in a split second. And he goes, flip us around, so the bay, don't have the ship turn with the back facing them, because they're all trying to shoot at the shuttle pod doors, which is on the bottom, right? So have him flip the belly of the ship at the bad guys, open the doors, and then shoot it and blow it up. And that way they'll leave, and have them go, after he's blown it up, flip us around, open, vent the doors, fire, boom. Then he sends a message to everyone. It's gone now. Fuck off, and they limp home. I think that wouldn't that have been neat? We don't learn any more about the ship than we knew in the first place. And it's more about the chase than it is trying to figure out stuff about it that ultimately goes nowhere because we don't get anything on it anyway.
Well, I was with you, right? No, the whole time. I liked it. I was with you right when you said, "Oh, it's like the chase." That TNG episode.
Yeah,
I like that. That would have been much better than just simply finding it drifting there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Suliban and Tholians come upon them. The idea of them all racing toward whatever this thing is adds another element of mystery to it that wasn't there. So that, as you said, that's first act. Second act could be they come upon the ship. Then there's another mystery. What is this ship? Who is this person?
But they have no time to really do.
They can a little bit,
yeah,
but not enough. Not a whole lot.
Just to know it's dangerous.
Yeah. No, I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it worked great. Yeah,
Sweet.
I liked it. Yeah.
I thought you were going to give me a butt. Okay.
No, I thought it was all good. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you, so I thought I liked it. Is there anything else about this episode you'd like to go over, talk about?
No, I mean, I suppose I would just, to button it up, highlight what we've already said, which is there's so many. They throw out so many nuggets
that they don't really
that do not get fleshed out.
No,
they spend how many minutes of screen time with Trip and Malcolm going down. It's bigger on the inside, and it's like cool. But it meant nothing.
Do something with that.
It meant absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if they revisited that at some point, but they don't.
Or if that worked its way into the plot in some way.
Yeah, but it didn't mean anything.
It's just a mysterious ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It meant nothing.
No, it
doesn't. Honestly, I think they should have upped the tension, not focused on where it came from because they just don't have time and they're going to lose it anyway. So if it's a MacGuffin, treat it like a MacGuffin and have the external elements of the story bear down and have that be what it's really about. And just don't let up. Everything is do it fast. We've only got minutes, whatever, that kind of thing.
Well, we do have some questions from Sebastian.
Oh, yeah.
About this episode. Okay. So
discussion questions.
All right. Shootout scenes from Star Trek are quite unique. People don't really take cover and almost always miss, just like Reed when pursuing the Suliban. Do you think this is an artistic decision to make the depiction of violence more bearable, or is it just sloppy action TV?
I think it's sloppy action TV.
I think it's sloppy.
I think when
it's absolutely
look at literally the first thing that came to mind, I don't know why, was Star Trek Generations. When they beam aboard the space station where they're saving Soren from, and they're in the phaser fight with who are they fighting?
Romulans?
No, they were
no, the Romulans are dead there. Where are they fighting?
What the heck? Oh, no. It's when Soren had hit Geordi in the face and was firing at Riker and Worf and all that. Right. And they're ducking for cover. And he's like, hey, this could actually hurt me.
Right.
So, yes, I think it's television.
Or, of course, don't omit the infamous shot of Conspiracy of the phaser blast going down the hallway, moving it like
so slow that
half a mile and a half.
He could grab it.
Yes. They really had...
That was comically bad. He literally panned with it as it went by. I've never seen that before or since.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Okay, next question.
Head on.
Next question. When Archer notices that he's in a time loop while trying to disassemble the torpedo warhead, he says something like, "Let's hope it works this time."
Yeah.
No creative solution, just blunt repetition. Are simplicity and uncreativity basic character traits of Archer?
Nah, no.
Are simplicity and uncreativity basic character traits of Archer?
No, I don't think so. I think I think
That's an interesting way to look at that bit of dialogue.
Not how I see it, though.
No, I think it's because he was just under time pressure.
I got the impression from the way the sequence played out that they were aware or felt as though they were progressing, like they were getting closer and closer to finishing their job. Because they could remember in part where they so they'd be going along going, well, I don't remember this part yet. And then, they'd go a little further and then reset.
Right.
So he knew if they just pressed on, what else are you going to do? You just got to try and go faster. You know, what you have no other choice.
Yeah.
So interesting observation, but I don't see that. I don't see that.
Or they could just not do what they were doing in that room.
But the implication is that makes that Archer's like a simpleton that just powers through problems. And I would not describe Archer as that. No.
Yeah. No.
I don't think that's a character trait.
No.
Interesting observation. I got to say, I'm curious where you grabbed that, but no, I don't.
Maybe because he just likes to sit back and watch water polo. I don't know.
No, that I don't feel that's the case.
Okay, so, well, I don't know if this is a question. That doesn't look like it because it starts off with bold claim.
Oh,
I think the episode works great, even, that's in all caps, if the true nature of the future ship will never, in all caps, be revealed in a later episode. It's just an example of how small and helpless humans are in space. Would that be enough for you as well, or would it feel too shallow? Well, I think we kind of went over that.
I think we did.
Yes, we did.
I even had an alternate version of how to address that in a way that doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of, not to mow the lawn too much here, but yeah, I said that I hate the fact that it doesn't go anywhere. It bothers me. I want to know.
Right.
It's a fun episode, but I feel empty afterwards. I think that's the word I used. I feel empty afterwards. I would still rate it as enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, if you want to give it a grade here.
Totally. All right. I'll give it an A-.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
It's a solid episode.
It's solid.
None of these things hurt it.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been more.
No, it's very entertaining. It's
Sure.
very watchable. It's just it's disappointing is maybe the
It's one of those, like,
word.
when it ends, you find yourself going, boy, did that serve a purpose? Did that serve a purpose? But
Right.
I was entertained, so who cares? You know?
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for time travel, so anything with that usually will get my attention. And the fact that it isn't explained doesn't bother me. I just wish they hadn't spent story time on things that truly had no relevance to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Like discovering that it's bigger on the inside literally meant nothing.
That was really fun. I like that, but they didn't do anything with it. That's what was frustrating. Well, thank you, Sebastian. Those were some really great questions. Please send us some more.
Absolutely.
That was a lot of fun. Okay. Well, I don't have any awards for this episode. This is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, nothing stuck out.
It's pretty solid. So nothing I really wanted to give an award for. No, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really. There was a few moments that I really enjoyed that I think we've already highlighted. The conversation with Trip and Malcolm. The last line was funny. It was
I enjoyed that.
It was a little cutesy, but I liked it. I did mark that. Was there anything that?
No.
Any awards on your end? Or
No,
highlights?
nothing. The highlight for me was that line. I actually did enjoy that. I chuckled openly at that. I thought it was good.
Yeah, you did.
I thought they brought it home with that.
I did have a few bits of trivia I could ask you about the episode.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, the human-like person that was found on the ship.
The largely human.
Thank you. Was made up of human DNA, Vulcan DNA, and what else was Phlox able to identify? What other species?
I want to say not Tellarite. Did he say Tellarite?
He did not
something
say
with
Tellarite.
a T.
He did say something with a T.
Temerian. No. I give up.
Well, I think I couldn't get the spelling right on this. Tellerin. Tellerin.
He didn't say Tellarite? Are you sure?
Pretty sure he did not say Tellarite.
All right.
But my darn phone, like the autocorrect,
autocorrect,
won't let me spell words.
Anyway. Won't let me spell sci-fi words.
No, but it was something like that. Okay.
Did you mean tinnitus?
Okay, so
And one other that he couldn't identify.
Right, another he couldn't identify. So Archer was hypothesizing that the human-like person was perhaps Zephram Cochrane. And he thought that because Zephram Cochrane disappeared a long time ago doing what?
Testing a warp ship.
Ding, ding, ding. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. Here's an easy one. What was the tool that Trip dropped down?
Spanner.
Yes. Or it was a hyper spanner?
Bring me my hyper spanner.
Okay. What was... Now, this should be easy because it was repeated. What was the year that Malcolm wanted to go back to? To see what?
5513 to see a Stegosaurus.
You're getting the two mixed up. No. 1588.
Okay.
To see the Spanish Armada.
When did a dinosaur come in?
That was Trip. He wanted to talk to a Stegosaurus.
Okay.
Okay. That was my other question.
All right.
Okay. So there you go.
I want to see a Stegosaurus, Captain.
Captain, those are all my questions. All right. Well, I think that's all I have for this episode, unless there's anything else you wanted to say before we button it up. What's coming up next?
Canamar.
The title's familiar. I don't remember what
if memory serves, that is where Archer and I think it's either Malcolm or Mayweather. They've been captured by someone. They're on a prison ship on their way to Canamar, I believe. Okay. And they're trying to unite the other prisoners to take over the ship because they're wrongly imprisoned and, all that.
Of course. Okay.
This is my memory of the episode.
Okay.
Gray and brown.
Okay.
I remember it feeling very visually bland.
Okay.
Bland.
All right.
That's my memory. We'll see if it's true.
All right. Gonna have to wait a week to find out. Well, again, thank you, Sebastian, and thank you, Marissa, for the drink.
Yes, it was quite tasty.
It's quite good. I did drink all of it.
And by the way, Marissa, do you agree with our name?
Yeah, we'd like to know if you like it. The Suliban Surprise.
Suliban Surprise.
Well, if you'd like to write into us, our email is podcastnx01@gmail.com. Of course, you can also contact us another way, like leaving us a comment on Apple Podcasts or giving us a rating. Or also you could leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Also, Kyle did just now before we started, he left us a comment on Rogue Planet. He said he actually enjoyed that episode.
Oh, wait. The Enterprise episode or our episode?
The episode Rogue Planet he enjoyed.
Wow.
He says, I enjoyed it. I don't know why.
Well, I'm glad you don't know why, because there's no defense. It is painful.
Yeah, I wish you'd have been more descriptive in your comment.
I'm gonna need you to defend that, Kyle. Like, please explain. You don't have to explain why you like it, but tell us things that you like about it. Like, there's a difference, I think.
Absolutely.
You're not saying why it's good. Just say, "Oh, I like the girl."
You must defend it. You must defend your choice.
It's all nighttime. I don't know. Give me something to hold on to, because that episode easily is the worst episode of Star Trek I've ever seen.
Worse than the Alternative Factor?
That's actually a tough one. I don't think maybe number 2. I don't think anything beats the Alternative Factor for being the worst Star Trek episode produced.
I still don't know what that was about.
I don't think anyone knows what it's about. That I have tried to go back to that, saying to myself, I'm going to sit down
get it this time
for 45 minutes and I'm going to assign some meaning to this. And God bless. First of all, it's impossible to get through. It is so bad, but it makes no sense. There's nothing to hang your hat on. But I would say Rogue Planet, close second. For just committing the sin of ultimate boredom.
Dullness, basically.
Yeah. Well, at least Alternative Factor thinks it's doing something, so I'll give it.
It felt like it had ambition,
but it had no idea what it was doing.
No,
man, I'm Lazarus. Whatever the hell, I don't know. No, anyone tell me what that episode was about, please.
I just know there's some pod that crashes in the desert or something,
and everything turns introverted colors.
Right?
I don't understand
something like that.
Don't understand it. Whatever.
Well, see you in the next one.
Okay.